I was recently asked a very good question about coffee enemas and cleansing in general. Someone had got a hold of me saying, how many coffee enemas does it take to remove all this waste, all this mucoidal plaque, all this bullshit? And it really depends on how much you're holding on to. It really depends on how well your body has eliminated many of these accumulations by itself. But unfortunately, many of these accumulations the body has so much difficulty getting rid of that it holds on to these elements. So one of the most dangerous things about eating is people's ignorance to the fact that many of the foods that they're eating don't transit through the body in a manner in which they think they do. So that's great that when you eat a bunch of food and you poop the next day, you think that you eliminated all of it, but the truth is that you didn't. Oftentimes the poop that you eliminate in the morning or throughout the day, etc., it's not even the food from the night before, it's nights previous, etc. So a lot of people seem to think that whatever you put inside your body in the form of food will come out completely in the form of fecal matter, but what you don't understand is that fecal matter is literally, it's like putty. This stuff is sticky, and what makes you think that it's not going to adhere to the lining of your colon? What makes you think that it's not going to get stuck in your physiology, inside your organism, inside your eliminative channels? So, excuse me one moment. Again, the ignorance is exponential, and if people knew just how dangerous these foods were, again, chances are they'd still consume them. Because what am I saying? We're living here in the United States. This is the land of ignorance. This is the land where information is literally readily available at your fingertips, but many people will never really uncover the truth of what they're eating. Many people will never get interested in immortality and trying to cheat their inevitable death, etc. The point, from my perspective, the meaning of life is to live, not to die, and to think that we're supposed to die before we're 100. I mean, come on. Have you never experienced your divine birthright? Have you never experienced Christ consciousness? With Christ consciousness, with the body completely activated, anything is possible. When we merge our consciousness with the divine and we become that. See, they've separated us from our mother. They've separated us from the earth. And we've become a biological android species which has really no ether connection to the planet anymore, or his or her own chakras, etc. So, again, I'm not trying to rant about all this stuff. I wanted to talk about coffee enemas and mucoidal plaque and all the fecal impactions. Coffee enemas are one of the greatest ways to rid the colon and the liver of accumulated toxicities, whether that be in the form of mucus or parasites or impacted fecal matter, etc. The first time I did a coffee enema, I didn't really know what to expect, and Jesus Christ. That is one powerful healing modality. That's all I'm going to say. And, I mean, Jesus. Many people think that you've got to use a lot of coffee for an effective coffee enema, but some of my most effective coffee enemas were coffee enemas that I prepared with just small amounts of coffee so that I could hold it longer. If you use excessive amounts of coffee, it's going to be much harder to hold the solution in your colon if you're new to it for a prolonged period. And you want to try to hold the coffee in there for at least 15 minutes. So, doing a coffee enema with a bunch of coffee and only being able to hold it like 3 minutes, that's not good. It takes a lot of time and effort to prepare all this stuff, and you want to get the most out of it, especially due to the fact that we're rushed for time here in this matrix. People have to work. There's all sorts of obligations. People are tethered to their contracts, etc. So, I like to use about 4 to 8 cups of water for my coffee enemas, and, I haven't done one in quite a long time. I'm considering doing one today, and I'll probably use 4 cups of water to 8 cups of water to 1 rounded tablespoon of coffee, and I'll let that steep for a while. I'll filter it and then put it in the old colon and see what happens. And I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't just absolutely jaw-dropped at seeing some of the things that I've seen come out into the toilet from coffee enemas. And again, the question at hand here that I've been trying to fucking answer, but I keep ranting, is how many coffee enemas does it take to remove all this stuff? And I really don't know, because I've done handfuls handfuls of coffee enemas. I've done coffee enemas cleansing blah, blah, blah. I've taken 30-day periods where I've done one coffee to... Jesus. I've taken 30-day periods where I've done 1 to 2 coffee enemas a day. And I've removed so much waste in that 30 days, or I had removed so much waste in that 30 days. You're going to have to excuse me. I woke up 30 minutes ago. I'm fucking exhausted. Been exercising a lot. My mind just hasn't caught up with my body yet. Still a little sleepy. But, you know, after 30 days, I thought I was pretty damn clean because I wasn't seeing a lot of stuff in the toilet anymore. And then I stopped for about 10 days and did another one and was just amazed at how much stuff had come out. So, again, it really depends on how much you eat still and how much stuff you have accumulated in your system. But I do recommend continuing to experiment with coffee enemas. You want to do it in a gingerly fashion, however. You don't want to do too many of them. There's this new age movement that I bought into out here, this healing movement, where they say that you should do them every day, blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, you don't want to have to be shoving fluid into your rectum. Or you don't want to have to be introducing coffee into your rectum every day as a prerequisite to have a good day or to feel clean. No. The idea of the coffee enema is just to assist the body in removing things that it's having difficulty letting go of. And you can be arrogant, you can think that your body is just this masterpiece, which it is, but to think that it can just remove all the disgusting foods that you shove into it that are like glue, etc. I mean, come on, people. Many people are drinking excessive amounts of dairy and eating a lot of cheese, and you know, casein, one of the number one ingredients in milk, is one of the number one ingredients in Elmer's glue. So, you know, just throw some glue onto the wall, or go out onto the street and dump a gallon of milk onto the concrete and watch what happens to it. It becomes a film. It sticks to everything. And just because you have a body that self-replicates flesh, just because your body can eliminate things when you put food into your system, doesn't mean that it's getting rid of all the stuff, all the residues, all the byproducts. So just to answer people's questions, I keep getting asked, particularly, I get asked often, how many fucking coffee enemas does it take? I don't know, man. Continue to experiment. I don't think you're ever really going to reach a point where your body is completely clean if you continue to eat the junk foods, etc. And even raw foods leave residues over because people aren't chewing them properly. There's so many fucking things working against us, you guys. So many things. And what's incredible is how good your body can feel even though you're holding on to pound after pound of waste. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. So due to that, many people will go their entire lives filled to the brim with shit and parasites and impacted fecal matter and candida overgrowth and mucus. There's a ton of mucus in the system. Coffee will prove that. Coffee will also prove to you just how toxic these elements that are stuck in our system are, due to the fact that when you smell the smell that is accompanied with these impactions that we release from coffee enemas, you're going to know, holy shit. It's amazing how good the external body can smell while the internal body smells like a bog. So just a brief little video about coffee enemas. I'm going to end this one short. Again, each person's different. Each person has eaten different foods their entire life. Each person has different digestive fire. You know, the organ system of each person is different. And therefore, some people are going to have more ease eliminating things naturally without the use of coffee enemas, where many people are going to need things like coffee enemas. And I'd say just about 95% or more of the United States could use a nice colonic irrigation and some fucking coffee enemas to rid their body of all the junk they're holding on to. I'm amazed. I'm fucking amazed. I have pictures of what I've removed with coffee enemas, and it's just absolutely atrocious to think that these things are being stuck into our systems and we don't even know about them. And what's crazy to me is the medical world doesn't seem to have any awareness of this. In fact, if you were to go talk to a typical doctor about coffee enemas, he'd probably think that you're fucking crazy and recommend that you go down to the mental health department. That's the type of insidiousness that this matrix has bred into the doctors that are so-called healers out here in this matrix, even though they're healing nothing. They're suppressing symptoms with hardcore drugs, and they're getting a kickback from the drug companies. So once you realize that money is the rule of the roost out here in this matrix, even in the medical world, which is completely unfortunate, you'll probably begin to realize that it's up to you to take care of your health, not some fucking doctor once you've accumulated sickness to the point where you're now seeing symptoms. The goal of health is to get to a point where you don't see symptoms, and the only way you're going to do that is if you remove the blockages, the impactions, and the constipations in your system that will manifest as symptoms. So, you know, here in this matrix, they don't ever talk about the importance of cleansing your colon in the medical world, in the Western medical paradigm. No. And, you know, I've gone to doctors before and talked to them about a lot of this alternative stuff, and they are just, unfortunately, most of them, they've been compartmentalized by the system, and they've actually been taught to view nature and naturopathic healing as only an alternative measure. See, that's the problem with calling naturopathic, homeopathic medicine alternative medicine. Alternative presupposes that it's your second choice, that if the fucking big pharma doesn't work, you go to alternative medicine to try to heal yourself, when in fact nature's the only medicine. I'm not saying that there aren't things within Western medicine within like the ER and within things of that nature, surgery. I'm not saying that there aren't things that Western medicine is very, very good. There's very good things about Western medicine. Not all of Western medicine is the devil. That's what I'm getting at. But the very fact that they neglect using foods to reinforce the immunity of the body, I mean, come on. And to them, the good foods is the food pyramid. So once you realize that the food pyramid is a total control mechanism, I mean, Jesus Christ. I do not eat from the food pyramid. However, I do eat from the Garden of Life. I do eat from the color wheel. I like to consume a broad array of colors that were grown under the sun. I love hibiscus flower water. I love consuming things like shilajit. I love consuming things like lemon water and sodium bicarbonate water and activated charcoal water. I love consuming potions. I love consuming things throughout the day that are, you know, herbal potions, and I like taking different herbal capsules, etc. And even though I do fast all day, I don't eat until 7 or 8 p.m., I still find massive enjoyment out of just imbibing in indulging in teas and things like Centella Asiatica capsules. And I mean, Jesus Christ, if you look at the longest lived people throughout history, especially going back into the biblical times, they all had one thing in common. Even if you go back to Atlantis and read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, you'll find that they all had one thing in common, the most long-lived people, and that was caloric restriction. So I'm not saying that I don't fuck up. I mean, goddamn, last night I fasted all day, fasted till 8:30. After biking about an hour, and then I did about an hour of weights, and then between that I did about 30 minutes of ab workout. And then, you know, I ate a good meal. I had my main meal. And then I fell asleep, and I woke up at like 3 a.m. and went to the cupboards and just I ate some soup, and I even ate a little bit of dairy because, I don't know, I'm not too stringent where I can't have a little bit of dairy here and there. I like experimenting with it. I like knowing what it does to the consciousness. And I said it once, I'll say it again. Dairy does lull the consciousness. So I'd say dairy constitutes about 1% of my diet. I'm 99% vegan, have been for the last 6 years. But, you know, I'm not one of these hyper neurotic people out here that's going to fret because you ate some fucking dairy, or if I did. I'm over that. There's much bigger fish to fry. And if you want to bash my dairy consumption, let's have a personal powwow. Let's get on the bike. Let's do some exercise, and let's see if you're even at a state of health where you can even have the right to point your finger at me and tell me what to eat. But bro, I mean, I know that the animals are being abused, but you know, many people think that animals aren't abused from growing vegan foods, etc. Do you have any clue how much resources it takes to completely decimate an area of land to grow your garbanzo beans or all the other staples that you use on your vegan diet. I hate to tell you, but being a vegan, if you buy vegan foods from the store, you are still supporting the beast. There's no way around this. So vegans really need to learn how to get out of their ivory tower syndrome where they think they're better than everyone else. Even though if they were to look into the truth and see how their vegan foods were grown and raised, etc., they would be appalled. So again, I just wanted to finish this one up. Regarding the question about coffee enemas, how many enemas does it take? I get this question often, and I can't answer that because the level of toxicity in your system, depending on who you are, it's always different. So one person might only have 3 pounds of waste in their system that needs to come out, and one person might have over 15. That's how plugged we are. And you know, I've always believed that all sickness, whether that be mental or spiritual or physical, it can all be related back to a blockage in the energy systems of our body. It can all be linked back to some form of constipation, whether that be spiritual in the aura or physical within the colon, etc. Once you start constipating energy, excuse me, once you stop the flow of energy, once you inhibit the flow of energy, the entire system is affected. So, in my opinion, constipation is probably the #1 illness on the planet, and most people are constipated even though they don't even know it. What are you talking about, bro? I take 3 shits a day. Doesn't mean you don't have pound after pound of crap in your system that your body literally can't expel. Now, what's the problem with the body not being able to expel these poisons? Well, when you can't expel these poisons, they begin to rancidify and putrefy and ferment. And once that happens, you have now opened up a breeding ground for different bacterias and different viruses, etc. Once these foods break down, they rot in the system and they degrade the flesh that they're sitting in. So if they're sitting in the colon in certain pockets, as they putrefy, it begins to burn and it just damages tissue within the system. So again, be careful what you eat because you can dig a grave with your teeth. Peace be with you.